thought what we'd do is go through and answer some of those questions that people had about presenting stories when you don't feel like you have any stories to give. So here's some questions we had. What if I don't have any interesting stories to tell? Everybody has a story. We mentioned this in the video. You have a story to tell. You have to think of everyday things that happen to you, not big crazy adventures. They can be good, and if they can really weave in, then okay. If you've got a point to it, any story should have a purpose. But if you have some sort of everyday event that happened to you, I mentioned going to a coffee shop. That's something that people can relate to. In the supermarket, something people can relate to. Having a chat with your best mate, something people can relate to. You don't need to be talking about around the world. Just relate to everyday experiences that people can connect with because they have experienced that too, and then add the message to it. The purpose of the story should align with the message that you're telling. Next question. How do I keep my story short and engaging without rambling? I have this problem. I worry that I'm constantly rambling on, and so I cut my story short rather than really going for it. So I completely understand this question. At the end of the day, you have to use that framework. You have to spend time really working at your stories. Don't just ramble your way through them, hoping that you'll get... If you've done that when you're speaking to somebody and you're sort of rambling all the way through, you can't do that. What you need to do is, like anything with public speaking, have a defined purpose for your story. We said about the 3-part framework. So you need to have the hook, you need to have the journey, and you need to have the takeaway. So it needs to be structured, there needs to be a point, you need to capture attention. So you have to spend time working at your story. So if you do that, it will help you not to be rambling, not to lose your way. There's no point taking people on a journey that sort of they get lost on halfway through. Okay, the third question we had. What if I get nervous and forget my story while speaking? This really, really spoke to me because I'm someone who struggles with brain fog. I feel like I lose my way. So I use notes. I have to use notes. And I actually want to make a video about how people who don't use notes, because there's a lot of things about you have to have a memorize, to have your speech memorized, but also be ad lib, and absolute nonsense. So there's nothing wrong with using notes because it can help you to be impactful. There's no point in having a speech if you lose yourself halfway through, then you're not going to be able to deliver the message with impact. But I'm getting off on a tangent. So what do we do if we forget our story halfway through giving it? Well, this is completely normal. Happens to everybody, happens to me. Keep bullet pointed prompts on you. Now, if you're doing a sort of speech where you are walking up and down the stage, you can't walk around with an iPad or with pieces of paper. It doesn't look great. But you can just pop your notes, your little prompt cards in your back pocket. And if you really need to, pull them out, have a look. Make a joke of it. Sorry, I've lost my way. People love that sort of thing. It's authentic. It's real. It's a moment in time. People love that. So don't be nervous about it. Don't worry about it, but be happy to go through that with your audience. And just remember that it's normal. It's normal to lose your way. How do I make my stories relevant to different audiences? Well, this is a really great point. And we spoke in the video about principles. We want to have, rather than hard and fast rules or lessons to take away, they can be okay, but like we said, they don't always relate to everybody. They might relate to one person in the audience who's going through that. But if you can make your stories connect more universally to the theme or the topic, well, then it's more powerful, isn't it? It's something then that the audience can connect more deeply to. So use principles of your story rather than hard lessons or rules, applications which only apply to maybe one or two people. You want to try to broaden it out to apply to others. And I love this one. Can introverts really be good storytellers? Yes, we can. Do you know why us introverts can be good storytellers? Because we're good listeners. We take in so much more. We're just not good at getting it out. That's fine. What we can do, practice. I made the point in the video to practice every single day. If you're shy and you don't know about storytelling, practice every single day. Go every time you interact with people, try to look for opportunities to introduce a story. It doesn't have to be your life story. It doesn't have to be a round the world trip. A small illustration of a point. It's so powerful, and it will make you feel so much more confident about using stories, because people go, that's a great way of making that point. Yeah, because I'm working at storytelling. So storytelling can be stories, it can be anecdotes, it can be illustrations, and practice every single chance you get, and you will get better at telling stories. Another question: how do I handle negative feedback or criticism about my story? Well, this will happen. If you are going to put yourself in the arena of getting on stage and speaking in front of people, people might criticize you. There's no problem with that. There is if they're just being mean for no reason. But what we can do is look at it as an opportunity to grow. A lot of the time, it's not easy to go and criticize somebody. People will prefer to go, yeah, it was all right, rather than actually tell you what was wrong. So when somebody actually gives you some feedback, try to get past a negative feeling that you have and view it as an opportunity to learn, to grow, to be better. We want to do that because that negative feedback, although it hurts at the time, it could be the opportunity for you to grow as a speaker. So take that opportunity and use it to go forward. Here's another one. Should I memorize my story word for word or speak with more naturalness? Well, I always think that memorizing is not the best way to go, because it makes it become wooden. And then if you do miss something as you're giving your speech, if you forget something, speech is ruined, story is ruined, it's all over. If you can be more natural, you can then sort of go, if you missed a really important point, maybe you could cycle back to it. What you want to do is become familiar with your story. So you do want to practice giving it, but you want to practice it till you're familiar with it. And that way, if you do miss something, you can circle back around, or maybe you can include it later on. Or maybe as you go on through your speech, you can get to that point which related to the bit you missed. You go, and there was part of the story which was really important. So going back to this point, let me tell you, and you can then include it later. But because you're not stuck to a memorized story, you have the ability to go back and forward, left and right, up and down. So being able to be flexible, I'd always urge you to be more natural than less natural. What if my story involves sensitive or personal topics? Well, this is really important. Don't share things that you know will upset. If it's about personal, if you're trying to tell a story about someone and you know that they're going to be upset with you for telling that story, it's probably best not to tell it. Even if you remove their names out of the story and don't talk specifically, sometimes you can give things away to people who might know parts of that story and you're like, I think I know who they're talking about. So be careful. You don't want to give away things about other people, and be comfortable talking about what you're talking about. At the end of the day, it comes down to not oversharing, not embarrassing other people, but trying to be authentic. So have a story about you, but that other people can learn from. It's not about you, it's about others. So you don't want to be upsetting people with your speech. So there were some of the questions that we had from that last video. I hope you found this interesting, and leave a like, leave any other questions you have in the comments and I'll get round to answering those as well.